Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited to be here today to explore an interesting topic. Today we'll be discussing Unit 7, which is titled, There is No Place Like Home. We'll be focusing on the form, meaning, and function of this theme. Over the course of this presentation, we'll look at how language helps us express the idea of home and what it means in different contexts. So, let's get started and dive into this fascinating subject together. Today, we'll be focusing on some key areas to improve your English communication skills. First, we'll look at how to talk about the future using dependent time clauses, which is essential for discussing plans or predictions. Then, we'll explore how to make requests, offers, promises, give warnings, and express spontaneous decisions. These are all common in everyday conversations. Next, we'll practice expressing ourselves clearly, like asking someone to repeat something or asking for and giving directions. Remember, the goal here is to build confidence in these situations so you can communicate more naturally and effectively. So, let's dive into these important concepts and see how they connect to becoming more fluent and confident in your English. Excuse me, I just want to take a moment to clarify some important points before we move forward. This slide is really about setting the stage for the key ideas we're going to explore today. As we go through, I'll highlight the main concepts that tie into our overall theme. It's crucial to understand how these pieces fit together, so feel free to ask questions if anything isn't clear. Remember, our goal is to see the bigger picture, and these points are foundational to that understanding. So, let's dive in and make sure we're all on the same page. Of course, when we consider the key points here, what really stands out is the importance of understanding the context and the nuances involved. It's not just about the surface-level information, but about digging deeper to grasp the underlying concepts. This helps us make more informed decisions and develop better strategies. Throughout this presentation, we've emphasized how critical it is to connect the dots and see the bigger picture. By doing so, we can ensure that our actions are aligned with our overall goals and values. So, as we move forward, keep in mind that these insights are crucial for creating meaningful and sustainable progress. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. All right, to get there, start by taking the first left. It's important to pay attention to this step because it's easy to miss. Once you've turned, you'll realize you've gone too far if you don't see what you're looking for. Keep going until you spot the specific landmark or sign that indicates you're close. From there, go straight ahead, maintaining your direction without turning until you see the next clue. When you do see it, turn right. And if you're unsure at any point, just ask yourself, can you tell us how to get there? Remember, following these steps carefully will help you reach your destination smoothly. So let's look at a common mistake that often comes up in everyday conversation. On this slide, you see the question, will you drive me school? Now, notice that the question uses will, but there's a small error here. It's missing the word to. The correct way to ask would be, will you drive me to school? This is an example of how we use will when we're making a request or asking about someone's willingness to do something. Now, moving on to, can you bring me another cup of coffee? This is a perfect example of using can for a request. When you ask, can you, you're politely asking if someone is able or willing to do something. It's very common in everyday situations like asking a friend or a colleague for a favor. The key point here is understanding the difference between will and can when making requests. Will often relates to willingness or intention, while can focuses more on ability or possibility. Recognizing which one to use depends on the context and what you're trying to communicate. Connecting this to the overall theme of our presentation, mastering these small but important distinctions helps us communicate more clearly and politely in English. Whether you're asking someone for a favor or making a simple request, choosing the right word makes your message more effective and courteous. Useful for offer. It is difficult homework. Don't worry, I will help you with your homework. Remember, using will here shows a promise or a willingness to assist, which makes students feel supported. So, whenever you face challenging homework, just know that I will be there to help you through it. This connects to the overall theme of teamwork and support, emphasizing that help is always available when you need it. Today, I want to talk about the use of will for making promises. It's a simple yet powerful way to express our intentions and commitments. When we say, "We will be friends forever," we're not just making a statement, we're promising a lasting bond. Using will in this way helps convey sincerity and certainty about the future. It connects to the overall theme of building trust and relationships, showing how language can reinforce our commitments. So remember, when you want to assure someone of your promises, will is the way to go. All right, let's talk about the use of will for warnings. When we want to warn someone about the consequences of their actions, we often use will to make it clear and direct. For example, if I say, "Stop or I will shoot," I'm giving a firm warning. It's a way of saying, if you don't stop, this is what will definitely happen. This construction is very common in situations where you need to be serious and clear about the consequences. It helps to emphasize that action is imminent if the warning isn't heeded. The key thing to remember is that will here is used to express a future consequence, something that's going to happen if the warning isn't taken seriously. It's a straightforward, strong way to communicate that there will be a response if the behavior continues. Connecting this to our overall theme, using will for warnings is about clarity and assertiveness, making sure your message is understood and that the other person knows what to expect if they don't listen. Now I will close the window right now because it is very windy outside. It's important to take quick actions like this to stay comfortable and safe. Wait, I will help you with that as well. Using will here shows a spontaneous decision, something I decide to do right at the moment without prior planning. This highlights how will is often used in everyday conversation for immediate choices. Remember, making these quick decisions is part of natural communication, especially when addressing situations that arise unexpectedly. This connects to the overall theme of using will to express spontaneous actions confidently and clearly. What do you notice about the verbs in these sentences? Take a moment to really observe the verbs here. Are they all the same, or do they change? This is important because verbs tell us about the actions or states of being in each sentence. Sometimes, verbs can show tense, like past, present, or future, which helps us understand when something happens. They can also change to match the subject, which is called subject-verb agreement. Understanding how verbs work is crucial because it helps us communicate clearly and accurately. In the context of our overall theme, paying attention to verbs improves our writing and speaking skills, making our message more precise. So, notice how the verbs function here, and think about how that impacts the meaning of each sentence. Let's take a closer look at the structure of a future time clause. When we talk about something happening in the future, we often use a main clause combined with a time clause. For example, I might say, "When I finish my homework, I will go to bed." Here, the future action depends on the completion of the homework, which is the time clause. Notice that a future time clause can start with words like after, as soon as once, or when. These words are key because they introduce the time when the main action will happen. Now, what exactly is a time clause? It's a dependent clause that tells us when something will happen. Importantly, it's always linked to an independent or main clause to form a complete sentence. Without that main clause, the sentence wouldn't be complete. So, in summary, a time clause provides the timing for the main action, and when talking about the future, these clauses help clarify the sequence of events. They're essential for expressing plans, schedules, or future intentions clearly. When we use a time clause at the beginning of a sentence, it's important to include a comma after the clause. For example, if I say, "After I finish my homework, I will go to bed," the comma helps make the sentence clearer and easier to understand. It separates the time information from the main action. On the other hand, if the time clause comes at the end of the sentence, like, "I will go to bed after I finish my homework," then you don't need a comma. The placement of the time clause changes the punctuation rules slightly, but the key idea is that whether the time clause is at the beginning or the end, it affects how we structure and punctuate the sentence. This concept is really useful because it helps us communicate timing clearly, which is essential for effective writing and speaking. Remember, placing the time clause at the beginning with a comma emphasizes the timing up front, making the sentence more organized and natural to follow. Now let's look at the form of time clauses. Typically, we start with a comma, and then we have the main clause followed by the time clause. The main clause can use will plus the infinitive or the present simple tense. When we're talking about she, he, or it, we add an s to the verb. For I, you, we, or they, we use the base form of the verb. Common time expressions include words like after, as soon as, before, until, and when. These words help us connect events clearly and logically. For example, you might say, she will call you after she arrives, or we will leave when he comes. In short, the key is to remember that the tense in the main clause depends on the context, but often, we use will plus infinitive for future actions, and present simple for habitual or general truths. Connecting these ideas properly helps us communicate timing accurately and naturally. After we retire, our plans often include traveling. It's one of the most exciting parts of looking forward to this new chapter in life. We've spent years working hard, and now it's time to explore new places, experience different cultures, and enjoy some well-deserved leisure. Traveling after retirement isn't just about visiting sites. It's about creating memories and enriching our lives in new ways. So, once we retire, traveling becomes a key way to make the most of this exciting stage. Before we have a new baby, we will buy a bigger house. This is a common example of planning ahead for a significant life change. It shows how our needs can shift, prompting us to make different financial decisions. By thinking about these future needs now, we can better prepare and make smarter choices. It's all about anticipating what's coming and adjusting our plans accordingly. This idea ties into the overall theme of proactive financial planning, making sure we're ready for life's big milestones. When someone takes medicine, they will feel better pretty quickly. As soon as he takes the medicine, he will start to notice improvements. It's a simple process, but it's really important because it shows how effective medication can be in helping us recover. This highlights the importance of timely treatment and following medical advice to ensure a swift and complete recovery. Will paint has. When he has, he will paint the house. So as we look at our evolution, you can see how our approach has changed over time. We first argued the importance of innovation, always striving to improve. Will, we see, is a key driver behind these changes, pushing us forward. This drive starts with a clear vision and a commitment to progress. It will run through every aspect of our work, from development to implementation. As a result, it gets us to new heights and opens up more opportunities. Will, in turn, will travel across different markets and industries, expanding our reach. We also receive valuable feedback along the way, helping us refine our processes. Ultimately, we will manufacture solutions that meet real needs. This entire journey highlights how continuous evolution keeps us relevant and competitive in this ever-changing landscape. Now, as we wrap up this presentation, I want to emphasize the importance of the homework assignment related to this content. This exercise is designed to really reinforce what we've discussed and help you apply these concepts practically. Think of it as an opportunity to deepen your understanding and see how these ideas connect to real-world situations. Remember, the key points we've covered, whether it's the core principles or the strategies, are all about enhancing your skills and knowledge. So, I encourage you to approach this homework with curiosity and a critical eye, and see it as a chance to solidify your learning and connect it back to the overall theme of this presentation.